It Girl villains might not always be the nicest characters, but there's a reason we can't stop watching them. We love to hate them, but deep down, there's something magnetic about them that makes us admire them. So today, we'll be exploring some of these iconic It Girl villains. Of course, we're not here to glorify the mean behavior, but what we're really doing is uncovering the lessons we can take away from them. By looking at where they got it right, we can see how to channel that same power into our own lives. Starting with our first It Girl villain from the iconic Mean Girls, it's Regina George. The lesson she teaches us is to be completely unembarrassed. Regina George is the ultimate queen bee of her high school, and what's interesting is that she wasn't trying to be liked by everyone. In fact, she couldn't care less about what everyone else thought of her. She knew that it was impossible to make everyone like her, and so instead of trying, she rather focused on owning her confidence and being completely unapologetic. She has this incredible quality of being unembarrassable. In the movie, we see multiple times where Katie tries to ruin her life or embarrass her by giving her the wrong cream or cutting holes in her shirt, but in that scene, Regina still puts on the shirt and she rocks it with confidence. And we can even see that everyone else starts dressing the same. Part of the reason she has so much influence on others is her unshakable confidence. She doesn't let anyone else's opinion affect her as long as she's happy with herself. And I feel like her confidence is really what draws you into her and makes her impossible to embarrass. Feeling embarrassed is a natural thing. We all feel embarrassed sometimes, but it starts to become a problem when it stops you from expressing who you really are or taking risks that could totally change your life. Think about models falling on the runway or singers stumbling on stage. They're both in front of thousands of people, yet they just get back up and keep performing. These little moments don't define them. If anything, they make them even more impressive. Because after all, no one is perfect. Everyone messes up sometimes. But what matters is how you handle it. So embarrassment is not really something you can avoid, but it's something that can only affect you to the extent that you let it affect you. Whether you give it power and let it stop you from doing what you want, that's up to you. Next, we have the It Girl villain of Pretty Little Liars, the Alison DiLaurentis, and she teaches us the power of cultivating mystery. Alison's whole character is built around her being a mystery. She's the girl who disappeared. She's the one everyone thought they knew, but no one ever really did. Even when she's around, there's always an air of intrigue about her. She reveals just enough to keep people interested, but always holds something back. And I feel like this careful balance of showing and withholding is what makes her stand out from other characters in the show and makes her unforgettable. Just when you feel like you're close enough to understanding her, you realize that there's still a lot about her that remains unknown. So how do we apply this in our own lives? So often we feel pressured to share every detail about us or prove who we are to everyone around us. And especially in the age of social media, with everyone constantly posting and sharing their lives, it can feel like you have to fit in with everyone or keep up with what others are doing. But not everything about you needs to be revealed for people to notice your value. In fact, embracing a bit of privacy and keeping some mystique can actually enhance your allure and work in your favor and make people more eager to know more about you. And plenty of celebrities do this too. Take Alexa Demi, for example. Despite her fame, she shares very little about her personal life on social media. She also rarely gives interviews or reveals much behind the scenes. So when she does appear publicly, it draws so much attention and curiosity. And this sense of mystery makes her magnetic. People are intrigued by her, not just for what she does, but also for the parts of her they don't see. Or take, for example, Zendaya. Despite being one of the biggest stars in the world, she keeps much of her personal life private. She doesn't overshare on social media, and she's also selective about the interviews she does, which is part of what makes audiences want to see more of her work. When you reveal everything to everyone, there's nothing left to know about you. There's no mystery left. And when there's no mystery, people lose interest fast. So learn to not overshare everything right away. And most importantly, be thoughtful and selective with what you reveal and to who you reveal it. And speaking of being selective about what you share, our next It Girl villain is Cheryl Blossom from Riverdale, and she teaches us to turn pain into power. Cheryl is the perfect example of someone who is very selective about what she shares with people and what she lets them see. On the outside, she presents this image of being confident, bold, and always in control. But behind that confidence as an audience, we can see that she's dealing with intense pain. From the loss of her brother to her toxic, controlling parents, we can see that deep down she's fighting a lot of loneliness and pain. But instead of letting that pain break her, she transforms it into strength. She doesn't let her pain define her. Instead, she creates this powerful persona that becomes her armor. And in psychology, this is called post-traumatic growth. It's when people use their personal struggles as fuel to grow stronger and more confident. And Cheryl illustrates this perfectly. She reminds us that your past pain doesn't have to define you as weak. You can take it, transform it, and let it become part of your strength and presence. Sometimes the only way to become the version of yourself you dream of becoming is by going through the heartbreak, the family struggles, or whatever challenges life throws your way. Painful moments are your opportunity to grow stronger and more confident about yourself. But ultimately, you get to decide if you let your pain break you or if you let it build you. Our last it girl villain is from Cruel Intentions. We have Kathryn Merteuil, and she teaches us the power of understanding people's motives and how to use them wisely. Kathryn isn't just beautiful and confident. What really makes her dangerous is her ability to read people. She studies their desires, weaknesses, and insecurities, and then she uses that knowledge to get exactly what she wants. For example, with Cecile, Kathryn knows that she's innocent, naive, and desperate to be accepted and admired by the people around her. But instead of telling Cecile exactly what to do, Kathryn frames her instructions as helpful advice or suggestions that appeal to Cecile's desire to impress everyone. Or let's look at Sebastian as another example. She knows he's arrogant and loves feeling like he's always in control and smarter than everyone else. So Kathryn plays into that by turning their bet into a challenge that boosts his ego. She doesn't order him around or threaten him. Instead, she speaks to his pride. She makes him feel clever and in charge, while she subtly manipulates the outcome. By understanding that his ego and need to win are what motivates him, she's able to predict his actions and use them to her advantage. And you don't have to manipulate people like Kathryn, but the principle of understanding motives is something that can completely change your life. Most people go through life assuming everyone thinks like them, but every person is different. Every person is driven by something. It can be validation, it can be money, it can be love. And if you can recognize what motivates the people around you, you can communicate better and have better relationships. You can protect yourself from being used, and you can even create new opportunities. For example, imagine your boss really likes to feel in control and get credit for their work. Instead of just giving them your ideas without context, you explain them in a way that shows how it helps the boss look good or achieve their goals. You're not manipulating anyone. You're just aligning with what matters to them, and that will naturally help you succeed. Or suppose you have a friend who loves giving advice and being seen as wise. When you ask for their advice or guidance on a problem, it makes them feel valued, and at the same time, it naturally strengthens your friendship. On the surface, Regina, Alison, Cheryl, and Kathryn might seem like these intimidating girl villains, who of course were not perfect. They all had their flaws. But the lesson isn't to become them. The power isn't in being mean or manipulative, but it's in taking the positive traits and use them to your advantage. So I hope you walked away from today's episode with some lessons you can start applying to your relationships and personal growth. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.